Hello there! Welcome back to Tell Us About, where we bring on content creators and interesting people. And boy, do we have a treat here today. We are joined with Palsteron. Now, Palsteron is a Twitch streamer, a YouTuber. He makes build guides, but he doesn't do the surface level crap ones that I do. He does actually in-depth ones where he's walking you through how to level the build. Thank you for joining us today, Palsteron.
Yep, what's up? Thank you for having me.
All right, so what we're going to do is we agreed here. First, we're going to talk about Path of Exile for a little while, and then we're going to go in. We're going to ask you the tough questions about content creation. Like, why did you get started as a content creator? What's it like streaming on Twitch? What is it like behind the scenes in your world? So the first question that, of course, I've been asking people is, how did you first hear about Path of Exile? How did you get into the game? Was it a friend? Did you stumble on it? What happened?
So I was playing Diablo 3 at the time, and I was kind of getting a little bit annoyed with the game, kind of like stale at some point. Nothing really changed, no new patches. So yeah, a friend of mine introduced me to the game, and I started it, and I remember playing like, I think 20 hours each day for like the first week or something. It was fucking crazy. I was not getting away from the screen. So that's basically how it started. And later, when they introduced Path of Building, like the builder for Path of Exile, I was just head over heels, and I was just in that all the time doing like calculations and whatnot. It was super fun. So, yep. From then on out, I was just stuck with it, and yep. Now
Before there was Path of Building, did you have like spreadsheets to calculate damage and stuff like I did?
No, I was a complete noob.
Okay.
Before Path of Building, I was a complete noob. I didn't know what was going on. So it was perfect timing, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing like accelerated your understanding of everything because you check the boxes, and while it's not completely correct, like it gives you a shortcut to figuring out how to scale the damage or the defenses and what's less and more multipliers and all that good stuff.
Yep.
I did that stuff back in the day for my friends in spreadsheets, man. It was rough.
Damn. Yeah, I didn't understand shit before that. I played like one build a league, and I perfected the gear for that. But once Path of Building came out, it was like I was starting to really get interested in making multiple builds and just testing stuff out. So, yeah.
When you first did the game, did you understand how resists and shit were? Like that you had to check them?
I understood pretty quickly. I have like a ARPG background, right? I basically played all the ARPGs there are, like Titan Quest, Diablo 2, then Diablo 3, right? I played all of them, so it was kind of like easy to start out with. But yeah, gotcha. When you get into crafting and stuff, it gets really rough. I think for most people. So yeah.
Did you follow a build guide or make your own thing at the start?
I made my own build first time around, and it was like god awful. I think it was literally just a fireball mage. Yeah, gotcha. I was like, Sork, I gotta do this. Right.
It's like it's one of those experiences that you just have to do it that way. I think if you're going starting out, like you gotta just dump surprise. So
yeah,
I came off of Diablo 3 as well, and I equipped a shield, and my first character was a melee splash dual striker, and I was like, yeah, I got the shield. I got the shield. Oh, wait.
That's even worse than Fireball. Oh my god. Yeah.
Here we go. I expected it to be like Diablo, where you have resist, and then you have armor, and you could scale one or the other. So I had really high armor. I died to Dominus. This is old Dominus. They nerfed him a little bit, but I died to Dominus like hundreds of times. Because my resist weren't capped. Like, I didn't know that was important. I was like, but I have so much armor, though.
Yep.
Just like the difference in the game where you go in. And then, but then I started to learn more and more and try out different things and went through all the... Like, I started playing... I think it was like the league after the beta was over with the Shrine.
Yeah, I started playing in... I think it was Warbands, right? Warbands, I think, was before Parandus or something. Parandus was like the first league where I actually kind of got some currency going and followed some build guides. Before that, it was like Warbands, and I had no idea what... Yeah, but I have very fond memories of Parandus, so yeah. That was fun times.
Did you get like some sick loot from him, or what did you like about him?
No, I dropped the mirror in Perandus actually.
What?
And yeah, I dropped 2 mirrors, and both of them were in
Two?
so one of them was in Perandus, and one of them was in Legacy, so 2.6. So yeah,
You know you're getting
and never
canceled
since
because
then.
you just
Yeah,
you know you're getting canceled for admitting that.
it
Right?
is what it is.
Okay, I just want to make
It is
that
what it
clear.
is.
Okay.
Yep.
I've never
I
dropped
know.
a mirror, and I've been playing for like 8 years or 7 years. I've never dropped
Just
one.
get good, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I guess
It is
I'm
what it
just
is.
like clearly I'm doing it wrong. So
Yeah.
yeah. Do you do lessons, personal lessons? Maybe you can tell me how to get them here.
Personal lessons, yeah. For you, I mean, I can do it for
Mhm.
like $300 or something. Yeah.
300 per lesson,
400
or per minute, or
per hour. Yeah. Per hour.
per hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Deal. All right. So we talked about that you start off with a sorceress with the fireballs. What are your favorite archetypes to play in the game? What do you like to play?
I'm a bow dude. So I used to play Tornado Shot exclusively, no matter what flavor, like ranged attack totem back then, poison a lot of the time before double dipping got fixed, right? Yeah, Tornado Shot I was a Tornado Shot main, 100%. Yeah, and I still am to this day. I love ballistas nowadays, right? I just love everything that has to do with bows. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. It's really funny. I hate that side of the tree. A lot of people like the bow. I always just feel too squishy, and for me, I like to be a little bit tankier. I think part of it is how good you are at the game, if you can play on that, and I'm just not good enough to play on that side of the tree very often.
I think the right side of the tree is just not getting baited into taking too many damage nodes, because you still have the chance to get to like the Scion life circle, but most people just don't because they're like, oh, there's still so much damage to get, right? So people just think they can't get tanky on the right side of the tree, but it's just like they don't put in the passive points or the work, right, to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a lot. Like if you look at people's itemization, they're just going for damage, and then they end up at 4K, and they're like, why, right? And they have like, I don't know, they run like Harry's chest with 0 life. So yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, that's the downside of a bunch of the uniques in the game, that they don't have life on them, and then you get a build where you equipped 10 of them or something, and you have no life at all.
Yep.
A lot of people make that mistake. Just because the uniques are cool doesn't mean you don't want life on your gear, for sure. For the bow builds, I always find it really difficult to level them early on. Outside of like a Toxic Rain caustic area is the only thing that I really have figured out how to level and it not feel god awful. Have you found any good ways to level bow characters? Or it's
Nowadays there isn't really a good way. So there used to be a good way. At League Start it's still rough, right? But there used to be a good way where you just go like Tempest Bow, stack flat lightning damage or flat elemental damage with like Abyss Jewels, right? But then they nerfed that, and it's like nowadays you just go Toxic Rain, Caustic Arrow, and that's basically that. You go Ballistas. Ballistas help a lot. You can do Toxic Rain plus Toxic Rain Ballistas, right? So single target is kind of fixed, which is a big problem. But since you have Mirage Archer, leveling is pretty chill. It's just the problem is just elemental scaling is not good early game. That's basically it. If you find a way around that with like poison or some dot skill, then you're good.
Yeah, so we've been talking a little bit about Toxic Rain and Caustic Arrow here. Do you think they're going to actually hit that with since it's been just so popular, do you think they're going to give it a little bit of a nerf? And what do you think the community reaction if they did that would be?
I don't even know. So the problem is it's just too easy to scale right now. And I feel like if they nerf it, they might make it unplayable. Because even right now, it's basically just a starting skill. It's not something you want to do later in the league, no matter what people tell you, right? So if they nerf it, maybe they should kind of like adjust early numbers, right? And later it's still fine-ish. Maybe nerf it by a little, but yeah, overall, the problem is just that it has too much scaling without needing gear. That's mainly the problem. So you can just go mega tanky. You can even go champion and get 0 damage from your ascendancy and still be fine, right? Which most builds just cannot do. So yeah.
Yeah, which was one of the most popular ways to play it in the last.
Yeah, and do I think they are gonna nerf it? I don't know. Like slams were there for like I think 4 leagues, and they're slams were basically the same but on steroids, right? So it's like, I don't know. I don't think there's always a skill like Toxic Rain around. I don't know if they have to nerf it. Poisonous Concoction right now, in my opinion, is actually better than Toxic Rain. So it's like, they should probably look at that as well. I don't know. I think it's fine that there's certain skills that are good at leveling, especially ever since they reworked Act 1. I think for new players, it's just way too hard. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I hate the initial leveling, and I find it very difficult to do that without having gear. And a lot of the good ways that I used to recommend, I used Stormblast Mine for a while to do it. And that was the big thing, and that's what all the racers did. And then they nerfed that like into the ground just about, to the point where I haven't really seen people leveling with it. I still do, but just isn't as good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm worried that they're going to do that with the Toxic Rain, Caustic Arrow stuff on that part of the tree. And then it'll just be like, well, how do you start? It's just going to be awful.
I mean, the thing is, I don't even think Toxic Rain is that big of a problem. It's like, if you look at witch leveling or like Templar leveling, you have Holy Flame Totem plus Flame Wall plus Purifying Flame, which is almost as good already as Caustic Arrow, Toxic Rain. And then you go into like level 28, you get Cremation Armageddon Brand, which is like so much better. So I don't even think that Toxic Rain is just better. Like Toxic Rain just holds up better into maps, but I think for leveling it's like fine. I don't think you need to make it ridiculously hard or something. But yeah,
maybe I'm just playing all the wrong crap, man. I might have to take you up on those lessons.
Witch and Templar is super easy, super easy.
I've never basically tried Armageddon Brand or Cremation, so that's just fucking problem.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's insane.
Mm-hmm. I usually like Frostbolt, and then for a Templar, I'll get like a sick two-hander, and I'll grab Battle Mage, and then I just basically use either Spell Echo or I use Unleash, and then I just use GMP.
Don't need to do any of that. Don't need to do it.
I cast that, and I just run.
You just need 2 flat damage ones early, because it scales so well early. It's literally, it almost doubles your damage, and that's it. Mm-hmm. That's all you need to carry you. There's like recipes for that, so yeah.
Yeah, for that. Those are the big recipes. Do you want to tell people what the recipe are in case they don't know?
So, I mean, Ruby, what was it? The ring that belongs to the color, like Ruby, Topaz, or Sapphire, plus an Orb of Alteration, plus a magic wand, any magic wand that you want. And then, depending on if the rings that you use for the recipe are normal, magic, or rare, it will come out as level 8 requirement with a lower roll, level 14 requirement with a middle roll, or a level 20 requirement with a good roll. So if you, for example, if you do a rare Ruby ring, that means you get flat fire damage as high as possible for that level. But it has requirement level 20, so be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that pattern, and I almost feel like the game is a little bit balanced around that. You ever tried to level without using that pattern at all as a crutch?
I have, yeah. It's painful. Yeah, that's why I'm saying new players, it's too hard. Like, I think before the rework, it was fine. I don't know. Like, I think we talked about this at some point, but I think they should have reworked Act 10 first and then just moved down, right? But starting off with such a hard reworked act is really kind of dumb in my opinion. But yeah.
I mean,
I think it discourages a lot of new players.
Yeah, I think so too. It discourages me, okay? But
yeah.
I don't know why they're, from my point of view, I don't know why that they're reworking the acts, because I've done them so many times. Now, I brought this up to Local Hall, and what he said was, yeah, but new players don't know that, right? We're spoiled because we've leveled a billion times.
Good point. Yep.
New players don't actually know that, so it might not be as big a deal as you think. And since this game requires so much time and so much depth, it might not be the worst thing in the world that they get smashed in Act 1 and they're like, oh, well, this stuff's serious.
Fair point. Fair point.
That was something that I learned from him, that I wasn't looking at it like that. Like, they're not going to know what it was before.
Yeah, they don't know what's hard in the game, right? Like, hard's relative. It's like, If you play Dark Souls, hard means something else than if you play Path of Exile. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you go into it and it's hard, you just expect that the rest of the way. Then the rest of the game actually becomes easy, right? Mm-hmm. If that's the level of it, versus the reverse of all of a sudden you give up. So it's interesting. I guess it weeds out the people, but it weeds out more people. So it depends on what is GGG going for here. Do they want their game to be very relatable, or do they want a super niche community where it alienates a lot of people?
I'm sure there's like a middle ground to find there, but I think right now it's even with what Local said, I think right now it's too hard. It's like when I try to do, I don't know, crab, the side quest crab at level 4 with perforate, for example, which you're given, you get destroyed. For example, it's like there's certain things that just shouldn't happen that do happen, and they should more think about the skills that they give you at the start, that they actually can do all that content. But yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, last league I tried to pick up Molten Strike, and then I died a bunch of times to Roas because I was using a 2-min.
Yep.
Then I had to go to dual wield, and then I was okay-ish, but I died more than one. I'm glad I wasn't streaming. I would have lost my mind if I streamed the start of last league, because I wasn't, like, I usually play a caster. And for a caster, I don't think it's that big of a deal, because I just, freezing balls. We're fine. I chill them, or freeze them, and I can, like, sort of off-screen them. The slam or the strike skills, you got to get right in their faces. And then you're charged with all the roas, and you got to actually plant yourself. What do you think about just the balance overall and the different play styles between, like, mines and traps and totems, and even, like you mentioned, Mirage Archer, where there's, like, things that you cast one time, then you get to kind of just run around and spend all your time dodging, versus things where you have to plant yourself? Do you notice a huge difference between those?
Yeah, of course. There's a huge difference, yeah. I mean, to be fair, right, it's kind of balanced out that those things usually don't leech for you. But the thing is, leech got worse and worse over the years, kind of. So it's less and less of an upside to actually cast yourself. And they actually also moved away from that. I mean, they introduced brands even, right? Mirage Archer. They even got something for slams. I forgot how the support is called, right?
General's Cry, I think it is.
Yeah. No. The support, like, I don't know how it's called, but yeah. I don't know. I think it's kind of weird. I think it's kind of weird, but I like those builds. I like Spell Totem. I like Ballistas, so I'm not mad. I think that bow builds in general need some help, but Ballistas are in a really good place right now. But everything that's like you casting arrows is bad right now. It's like in a very bad spot. So I think it was 3.9 when they made like the bow league, right? Where they wanted to rework bow skills, which is just another word for make them shitty, right? So they just nerfed way too much stuff. It's kind of like a train wreck. So yeah, I think bows need to get back some of their glory, because it can't be that just Toxic Rain's good, right? And everything else needs like 500x, and then it still takes forever to kill a boss, right? So
you know why they don't do this, right? Though
I don't think it's the ranged playstyle, if that's what you mean, because there's a lot of builds that have a ranged playstyle.
I think it's the fact that if you have too much damage, you basically can cast one time with Mirage Archer and clear the entire screen and just run through the map. And that sort of thing very much terrifies them.
Sure. But I don't know. I think that maybe Mirage Archer was a mistake. I don't know. It's very fun to play with, but maybe it's just a nightmare to balance. I don't know. There's a lot of builds that do play like you just said, though. So you put, I don't know, brand recall on left click, and you just cast your brand once, and then it's just like activates, and they come to you and activates. You cannot this auto bomber playstyle you have anyways already. Like there's so many auto bomber builds, so I don't see why Mirage Archer should be any different from that and should not work, right?
But I don't think they like any of those, and I think they're all probably on the chopping block.
I mean, I think they want to phase it out once PoE2 comes out, but I don't know if they're gonna do it before. I'm just hoping they don't. I just hope they gradually change the game so PoE2 isn't like a crazy difference, because otherwise I think a lot of people will just jump off. If PoE2 is completely different, it has a completely different pace. That would murder them. So they have to gradually make stuff slower or less auto bombery or whatever, right?
Yeah, so I was like, I never shared this opinion because I didn't want to anti-hype things. I try really hard not to anti-hype, even if I have a certain opinion. I guess I'm going to do that now. But when I watched the trailer for the PoE 2, I think it's like the new second or third act. We're on that like barge, and they introduced a couple different bow types. I remember one of them was like it was kind of like a ballista thing that you shot in the air.
You mean arbalests?
Yeah. Okay.
The arbalest thing, yeah. Incendiary bolts and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, that. Different and bolts. I'm like, this is. I'm thinking, my brain went to shoot one time, Mirage Archer, run through map, to all right, we're going to be switching between 4 bows to kill this one monster, and I'm like,
I don't think that's gonna happen, dude. I don't think you gotta realize that they record leveling, right? It's like think about how slow leveling looks right now without leveling gear. I'm pretty sure they didn't have on any leveling gear. Like think about Act 1, Act 2 without like 50% movement speed boots, right? Think about that, and then project that onto the trailer, and you know why it looks so slow, I think.
Yeah, that, and also, like, we just mentioned the crafting of the wands, the big gap there. So if you craft nothing and then just use the gear, then you would have probably a pretty similar experience right now in the state of the game.
Probably.
I guess. It's just that you and I have not done that for a very long time, because we know the wand pattern, so we're always going to do that. So I could see that. Now, there was the one thing that I thought was really awesome. They had like the javelin, the javelin skill, right?
The lightning javelin was cool.
Well, not only that, but it was like a combo thing. Like sometimes you
the bleed one before
stuff with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. They had like that where it was like a combo where you like hit twice and then you dashed and stuff. I thought that was really cool. I just don't know where it fits when I'm so used to just, all right, we're going to get inspired learnings and we're going to shoot one time and then we run through the map as much as possible. And like kind of the goal of the league seems to be that.
I'm not really that worried about that because I've been playing Grim Dawn for a long time and I love Grim Dawn. And that's a game where you press 5 buttons at least, right? I think if the game like does it right, I think it's completely fine to press more buttons. And you got to realize also that we're actually used to pressing buttons because flasks are a part of every build. So in reality, we are used to pressing buttons already. So now that we can automate flasks more with the new orbs and stuff, which hopefully get put into PoE 2, a lot more of our fingers are probably going to be free. So yeah.
The problem is, though, from my perspective, is you cannot automate them during the leveling process. So you have to hit them, right? You don't get access to that later. So the people who are going to have a problem with it won't know that even exists.
Yeah, no, but the people who start PoE out also don't know that is a problem, right? As we talked about before. They also don't know that that's like a problem. And they gradually can increase their quality of life over the levels, right?
Maybe, but for me, I think buttons are a little bit different. If you have to push 20 buttons to do something, I think someone doesn't need game knowledge to be like, oh, this is an awful experience. Like, I think there's some things there. And the button
a lot of WoW players out there.
I guess if you came from there. But there's also a lot of other people who, I mean, play a bunch of other games where you just are clicking. All you do is click, right? There's no even button presses or something.
Sure, but those people would probably not be around in PoE anyways then. So, like, better seed them out early, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
But it definitely hurts the cap of the game of the total
amount of course.
Players
but
PoE will get, for sure.
The way Chris wants PoE to be, I don't think they will ever reach like super mainstream, and I don't think he wants that either. And I appreciate that, right? So he stays on the roots or whatever you would say of RPGs.
I also appreciate that, and I'm not giving in sometimes to the stuff. Some of the stuff, it's really hard to tell how much of it is me changing as a person and getting older versus. Because I used to play so much. I had a similar experience to you. I basically got introduced to the game and I was playing like 16 hours a day or sometimes 20. when I
Yeah,
first started for a very long period of time. But now I'm on the opposite side sometimes where like I go hard for the week, but within a week I'm like I don't exactly want to sit down and play 16 hours a day after about five days into the league of doing that. I'm like, you know, one or
fair.
two.
That's still
So
a lot of, like, if you think about it, that's still a lot of hours, right? That's
yeah,
still
it's
100
still a
hours or
ton.
whatever
It's still a ton. There's just
per
a
league every
distinct
3
difference.
months. That's huge. I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah, it's still a lot of time. But I'm saying that before it would be like 300 hours pretty easily,
Yep.
and I'd still be ready to keep going. And now it's only like 100, and I see that a little bit in me fading. Have you had anything like that, or you're just like always ready to go all the time?
I'm pretty ready to go all the time, but it's like streaming and stuff is really really fun, and it really helps with keeping me interested in the game. So yeah, if I wasn't streaming, I would usually quit around like after the first 4 to 5 weeks, depending on how good the league is. So
Okay.
if I wasn't doing content creation, I would play like crazy until I burn out in the first month, right? I would just like 16 hours a day at least, right? And then I'm just like off and do IRL stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with content creation, I do like 5 to 7 hours a day, pretty chill, so I don't get burned out. And yeah,
Okay.
works out.
I don't want to. I of course have other questions on top of that, but that's for the content creation portion, not the
Yep.
talk
Let's
about
go.
Path of Exile portion. So we won't dive
Mhm.
into that just yet. Um, so I will. What I'm kind of taking from people is what sort of activities do they actually? What do you like in the game? What's your favorite thing to do in the game, activity wise? Is it
This might
mapping
surprise
or
you.
delve or heist
It
or
might
what?
surprise you, but it's just killing monsters, honestly. So mapping. Yeah, mapping, basically. Being fast, having momentum, and going through a map. I like maps because there's so many things that could happen. Over the years, they introduced a lot of leagues, right? So I have a lot of fun with like Alk and Go playstyle. So not even juice much in your map, just like go, go, go. Finish maps as fast as possible. Um, the most important thing is just have some kind of strategy that keeps it interesting, right? Like farming essences, um, or farming delirium or something like that, right? Have some kind of goal, and yeah, then it's going to be fun for me.
So you said this might surprise me. Do you think it surprised me?
I don't think so.
What do you think my favorite thing to do is?
Probably mapping as well.
Yeah, mapping as well.
Yeah.
So it didn't actually
Yeah.
surprise me. Do you think that's the normal? Do you think
I think most people
are?
just map. Yeah, I think most people just map
Okay.
the just Atlas progression and just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's it.
What's your favorite mechanic to interact with?
Favorite mechanic? Probably Legion. Legion is pretty fun. It's just like
Okay.
a lot of mobs. They're pretty rippy, so you have to do something for your character to not die. And yeah, that's basically it. Everything that gives mobs, I'm happy with. As long as it changes up from map to map, pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of
My
headhunter
favorite
buffs as
one.
well.
Yeah. That's why. Are you a headhunter boy?
I'm a headhunter boy. Yeah.
All right. All right. So what happens if they remove headhunter from the game?
We don't talk about that here.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't talk about it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, it's my show, so maybe I want to talk.
Yeah.
You don't want to go
Okay.
there.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Will never happen. Chris, don't let it happen.
Gotcha. I think one of the things that charges it up very much is Beyond. And the interesting thing, I don't know, like it was introduced before Beyond was. And now that you could stack Beyond and then all these other league mechanics, I think it's a huge problem in combination with Beyond. Not so much a problem outside of Beyond, with Beyond.
Yeah, I think their new approach where they just bring out stuff that's at least as good as Headhunter or like similarly is really good. So for example, like
Yeah.
Squire or like Mage Blood, right? Like there's a reason Headhunter is cheaper this league. It's because a lot of people just want Mage Blood instead. I think that's a good idea. I think that's the way to go. Just move up the goalpost and just don't nerf Headhunter because honestly, like it's very hard. The thing is, belts in general just aren't very strong. So that's why Headhunter seems extremely strong. But I mean, you saw what happens when they introduce a good belt like Mage Blood. All of a sudden, everybody's like, "Yeah, I don't think I need Headhunter at all." Right? So if they just keep on pushing out better belts, it's more going to be like a question of playstyle, right?
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think of this a little bit differently because I think there's another belt that's one of the best belts in the game. If you don't have Rampage, I think Bisco's is an awesome belt as well.
Sure, it's good.
Do you like that one, or do you use that one a lot or no?
Yeah, it's good. It's like it can be a budget headhunter if you wanted to. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I mean, the way the Rampage works for mechanic for people that don't know, as you get the charges, you get movement speed and flat damage, and it's flat generic damage. So just Rampage overall, and then it spawns cool things that happens like cascading, detonate, dead, and stuff.
Increased damage, right? Increased damage, I think.
Yeah, increased damage. Yeah, flat increased damage, like generic, and move speed. But if you get to 1,000 stacks, I think it's like 60% movement speed, which is like double what you can get on boots, which is insane. Well, like reasonable early boots, right?
30%. Yeah, but it also pushes you into a certain like playstyle where you have to be always on the go. Looting is very annoying, right? Stuff like that. So, for example, if you do strats that need a lot of looting, or you open a breach at the end, you want to loot, that can be really annoying. So if your stacks fall off, it feels really bad.
Yeah, that's the downside of the whole thing, even with Headhunter.
Yeah.
So there at least is some trade-off that a lot of people didn't see. Now, what was really insane was back when there was no trade-off because you could get 80-second Headhunter buffs. Did you play? Did you use Headhunter back then?
I did, yeah, in Legion League, farming 5 rays, yeah, I did with Cyclone. But like I said, I still think the problem with Headhunter is that it. So if you look at belts, what can you really get from a rail belt, right? You get life, you maybe get a little bit of strength, maybe an Abyss Socket if you have a Stygian Vice, and resists, right? That's it. Like maybe you have a Shaper belt with cast speed or whatever, or like a 10 movement speed. The power level of belts is just very, very weak, right? Whereas if you, for example, Headhunter effect would be on a body armor, right? That would be a payoff. Holy shit, right? But on a belt, it's like, what do you want from a belt? Well, Headhunter has 100 life between implicit and the life roll. It has dexterity, which is one of the most sought after attributes. It has strength. So the question is, what do you even pay for a Headhunter? You don't pay with any stats, right? That I think is the main problem. If, for example, you removed life, dex, and strength from Headhunter, I think it would be way more balanced, because now all of a sudden you pay for it. Or the other way would be introduce better belts, like for example you saw with Mageblood. Now all of a sudden Mageblood is the best belt. People are like, yeah, Headhunter is okay, right? So that would be my my thing to do. Or like make rare belts better, right? Something like that.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is belts were better when the Abyss came out because the jewels were pretty insane. But they've nerfed the Abyss jewels so much that it's kind of less insane. But it essentially was like you want a Stygian Vice and you get those things and you get like one super juiced extra jewel. Oh my gosh, it's awesome. But now like they've nerfed it an infinite amount of times over the years.
Yeah, I mean they buffed it again, but they made it impossible to craft basically. Like
exactly.
It's fucking impossible.
And it's still not as good as it ever was though. Even when they buffed it here, it's still like not even close to as good. I think the life used to go up to 50 on the jewel. I think it was like, which is insane getting that.
Yep.
Because if you get a 50, then it's actually even better than the leather.
Just
belt.
with the one roll,
With that one roll, and then anything else, and then the whole onslaught, being able to just get a searching one and then get onslaught on kill added to any build or blind and stuff like that. So it still does like Stygian is still strong, just not even close to as strong as it was. So I agree with you there. What is the most profitable thing that you do in the game that you also enjoy?
Usually simulacrums. I enjoy simulacrums. At some point I like making a build that does well in simulacrums. Now that it has 30 waves, that's even more challenging and really fun to do as a build maker, right? Other than that, like Alkan Go makes a ton of money. It's just like you just gotta keep going. You gotta have a strategy. You don't like stand in your hideout. You have to enjoy it because then you're gonna do more hours, right? And then it's just gonna be a lot of monies. So I don't really think about making a lot of currency, right? Since I play so much, I have like the freedom that I can do whatever I want, and in the end, I'm gonna have the currency I want. So for me, currency is not really a goal. for me, currency is more of a way to get cool builds out, right? That's all it is. I care about builds, and then the playing part is more of like trying those builds out and making some currency on the side. Yeah.
Now, I know on some of your builds you kind of went for like pushing them to the max limit, and where I actually found out about you, I think, well, actually, I stumbled upon about like 2 or 3 of your videos back when you were pretty small. You've grown 10 times as much since then. But I remember watching your, I think it was Infernal Blow.
Mm.
I like that back in Ultimatum, where it like just like nuke the whole screen. I thought that one was really cool. And then I liked, of course, your accuracy stacker. I saw that one. I'm like,
yeah,
it kind of inspired me. I'm like, I can never afford this with how much I play and how much I focus on currency. And that actually inspired me. I don't think I ever told you this yet. That's the reason why I did the accuracy stacker jug with the lightning strike, because it was a budget version of that. But that's where I got the idea to give that whole thing a go ahead. So I'm like, oh, I can't get these sick rings and stuff, but I really want to just try an accuracy stacker. What
funnily enough, nobody was really playing. So MBX, I basically took the idea from MBX, right? As I say in the video, but after MBX did it, I think in 3.14, nobody really did, or 3.13, nobody really did it. And I thought his build was extremely strong, and I was like, I don't understand. So I made like a newer version. I think it was in 3.15 or was it 3.14, right? I didn't understand why nobody was playing it, and I got the rings that you saw in the video. The perfect one was 75x, and it after the build now it's basically not possible to get one. So even if you have several mirrors, right?
Yeah.
But the 24% rings, they costed like 2x. Nobody believes me. They costed 2x. Nobody played the build, right? So for me, the funny part is it wasn't actually my end game build for the league. It was like my mid-tier build.
Okay,
it just sort of like the video inflated the prices to crazy proportions where if you wanted to play the build, you need like 2,000 exalts. Yeah. Because the thing really with cool. Tornado Shot, if you make a good Tornado Shot build, people love Tornado Shot. So all the TS boys are going to come out and buy everything up, right? And that's what happened though.
Yeah, the TS boys.
The TS boys, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Grimbro. Exactly.
So just to give a little bit of context here to the rings, there's basically rings that you can get from Delve, and they give certain properties per frenzy or power or endurance charges. And the property that you can get out of it, it can stack. So you can get super rare rolled ones where it stacks the property 2 or 3 times. What he's talking about is there's an accuracy per frenzy charge, and he was able to get a triple roll one of that one. It then gets multiplied because the catalyst got introduced, and it gives like 36% accuracy per frenzy charge. And you had like 10 frenzy charges, so it gave 360% increased accuracy per ring. And then you have everything with the accuracy stacker just stacked on top of that: flat damage, attack speed, crit chance, and scaling for projectile damage. Right? Did I miss? Is that a fair characterization?
Sounds good.
Okay. So that's what he was talking about there. So when he did it, and this is the value of sitting down and just making your own build, is sometimes you stumble across things that are super broken, but no one's covered it. And this is one of the things that keeps me playing the game. Sometimes I stumble upon those things. Got a little bit lucky last league. I stumbled upon the kind of... It was kind of the same thing that Palsteron says here, right? It was popular. Someone made it popular. Then there's this wave. Everyone just forgets the thing exists. And then everyone's so concerned with nerfed. So a lot of people had the whole hype initially for the replica Dream Feathers. And then I was like, they just buffed Determination and Grace. It's probably going to be good. Let's do an Aura stacker with these things with it. I started going down that path and looking at what other people were doing and stuff like that. And that's how that whole thing came to be. Which is pretty much a similar story to what you just said.
I don't even think it's like I said, people did it before, right? It wasn't like completely new. I actually don't think that there is anything new you can do in PoE, because everybody always does something at the same time. There's like nothing truly... There's a few things right here or there, but usually it's like building upon an idea that somebody else had. So usually what I love to do is take meme builds, right? Where people, for example, like Shrapnel Ballista or like Accuracy Stacker, whatever. Ooh, this is fancy. This is a meme, blah, blah, blah. Which usually in PoE terms means it's shit, right? Which it isn't, right? And then I just min-max it. So you basically just, like, you sit down and you think of the best possible version. And most of the time, a lot of people just sit down and the first idea they have, they go with it. They don't really compare stuff, right? And you can just make a meme into a really good build if you know what to do. And that's usually what I do. I usually don't come up with completely crazy ideas or anything. It has all been done before. It's out there, right? Wherever you want to search for it, YouTube, PoE Ninja, right? It's just about like game knowledge and applying that to making a build. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I made a Skitterbot Infernal Legion build with a cultist that popped the screen in Ultimatum, which is pretty funny as a complete
Nice.
kind of joke, but it actually was better than a lot of builds in Ultimatum. Pretty funny. It had awful boss damage, but it was really, really funny. So I mean, sometimes you can make things work, and then just seeing people's reaction that like they can't get the normal skills to work, and then you do a meme skill, and then everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's amazing." Getting that getting that whole reaction out of it is it's really funny. You know what I mean? The same thing.
Yep.
For your stuff when you take a skill, and I'm like, well, that's the bad skill. Oh, but he could kill the stuff. Oh.
Yeah. Often, for example, with the Shrapnel Ballista, right? Often it just takes a little bit of quality of life for a build to be good. For example, everybody always told me that Shrapnel Ballista has terrible range, right? And they use the chain, so there's a quality that gives +2 chain, which is crazy for just quality, right? +2 chain usually is like a support gem, right? But it isn't usable because it has like no projectile speed. So even if it gets to an enemy, it will not chain because it doesn't have the projectile speed. So all I did for the build was get like 100% projectile speed, and the skill felt at least decent, right? Good enough to play it. So yeah, that's very often people just too much look at the numbers and they don't think how something feels in game.
Yeah.
Which is way more important than any number you can have. That's like a baseline for me. It's like if a skill I can't make a skill feel good, the numbers don't matter. I can't do this. It's impossible. Yeah.
And it also depends on what you actually want to do in the game. This is why I think making build guides and stuff is very, very challenging, is because I generally focus on mapping. I don't really care that much about the bosses. Like, I'll kill them the first time. It's important to have like one character. And then I don't actually try to make a jack of all trades character. I just focus on characters that are going to be fun to play in maps, because that's what I want to do. If you're following me...
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think people are understanding with that, as long as you don't characterize the build as something that it isn't. So I've had very good success with just straight up saying this is trash for single target, this is good for mapping, this is only for mapping. I think that as long as people don't feel like they're betrayed or something, or like lied to, and you don't make the build into something that it isn't, I think it's fine, right? For example, my shield charge ignite build, I say straight up 3 times in the video, it's trash for single target, and it's one of the builds that people love the most, even though a lot of people don't just map, right? They want to do Conquerors, they want to do Cyrus, and that skill sucks for that, right? Still to this day. But it's just a fun build, and as long as you tell people the truth, it's fine, usually.
Do you get the question that I always get, which I've now turned into a giant meme? Can this do 5x Delirium, super whatever, juice with watchstones, whatever crap? No matter what I put out there, no matter what I say in my videos, someone will ask me that question. Can this do 100% Delirium with everything? And they're being serious. Some of these people are being serious.
No, but that's the interest. That there's 2 problems to that. Number one, that there's a lot of channels out there that just give you unrealistic expectations, right?
Yeah.
So these people watch certain channels, which we're not going to name, and they just think that is the norm, right? And everything that's not in that norm, well, this player probably just sucks. That's why his build can't do that on 5x, right? And the second problem is that in 3.15, basically across the board, everything got like cut in half in terms of damage. So now all of a sudden, you have this situation where a lot of people that have played before don't realize that, because they don't read patch notes that much, and they still have expectations from pre 3.15 applied to post 3.15, which is just like nowadays you just have to make do with what you get. And I saw that with, for example, my Poisonous Concoction League starter, which did extremely well. It's one of the best league starters right now, if we don't count like Seismic Trap or whatever. One of the normal skills. So there are still people there that say, "Oh, this damage falls off late game." It's like, yeah, that's the new late game standard for like low gear. It's like 2 to 3 million damage is pretty good on a league starter if you can get it realistically, right? But that's also, that feeds into the problem again that I said, that there's a lot of people out there that just, I don't know, they categorize their build as a league starter when it's like, I don't know, 20x investment. Most people don't have that in week 1, right? Let alone on day 1 or day 2. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I put out basically a like Terminus-esque thing where I put the actual gear on of what it would be like to play it and like reduce my damage all the way down to what you would need on 20C to farm tier 16 maps, and I showcased that. Everyone said it was crappy. Now I know that these people think that that was crappy, and I know that they're going to file what you just said, a 30x build guide that they're not going to have the currency in, and they're not going to get past yellow maps. But because many people do that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
They will get past yellow maps because that's the crowd that starts RMTing. That's like that's the. I mean, a lot of these channels that we're talking about right now, that's what they do, right? They get people into that.
The money. Yeah, unfortunately.
It's like, I can't get all these items that are in my build guide. Gotta look on Google, and the first thing that pops up if you Google PoE currency is a fucking RMT site, and they don't even know that it's like against the terms of service. So that's what usually happens with those people. They will get to red maps if they spend like $50. That's usually what happens.
Yeah, a huge problem, and I'm just going to straight name it. The Path of Exile Builds channel, it's literally called that, is actually a front for an RMT thing. And that's one of the biggest channels. Is I think 186k subscribers, and most people don't know that that's basically a front for RMT. It's kind of crazy. But at the same time, it's very frustrating for me because I want to basically say like, okay, here's the realistic thing. Here's what you can get on 20C, and you probably could get this just doing chaos patterns. And then people are like, well, it's crap because other people are showcasing 20x stuff. Lost my earbud. I've been shaking too much. I'm getting too animated here. Got me all riled up, Palsteron.
Unbelievable.
Unprofessional. Yeah, for sure. Well, do you want to keep talking about Path of Exile? You want to talk about content creation? We're at 47 minutes.
Whatever you want, man. Whatever you want.
I think we're going to move on to content creation. So we're going to talk about the streamer experience, getting into streaming. What are Palsteron's secrets of his growth?
Oh boy.
I need to know.
There's so many secrets.
Palsteron started making YouTube videos about 7 months ago. He's now at 10,000 subscribers, and then he started streaming on Twitch about 4 to 5 months ago. He currently has 3.5 thousand followers on Twitch, and he holds about 100 to 200 concurrent viewers. So today, he's going to be sharing some of his secrets, some tips. How can you get to where he's at? So, Palsteron, first of all, what made you want to start creating content? Why did you finally take the leap?
It was kind of a leap of faith, yeah. It was, so basically I was in uni, and it was during COVID. Basically it was the time where a lot of universities like transitioned to online, and a lot of my professors weren't really, let's say, equipped to do that. So what happened was in the end that we had a period of like a semester where I couldn't finish anything that I wanted to finish. And yeah, it kind of felt like a waste of time. I was super bored, and I wanted to do something creative. And I had like a talk with a friend of mine. He basically said I talk way too much. I should just make YouTube videos, right? So then I just started making a build guide, and I was like, yeah, let's just do it the way I want to do it, not YouTube style, like fast, but I actually want to explain in depth, right? So maybe there's like a market for that, and there's other people who do that. So I'm not gonna claim that, but I always loved very thorough videos. So I tried making a video. It was super scuffed, but people liked it. People watched it. I didn't know anything about like search optimization or like thumbnails or anything. I just did whatever I wanted to do, and it still worked out. So I was like, maybe I can do something with that if I put more work behind it. So I started, and feedback seemed pretty good. So I just continued, and here we are. Yeah.
Now, how much did you research? Like you mentioned, you didn't really do the search engine optimization. How much did you research that, or what other people are doing, or did you just want to make your own thing? What, like, where? How did that come about?
So after the first video, and after that, I had kind of a vision. I made like a business plan or whatever. If I want this to work out, I will have to earn money, obviously, because I'm delaying my uni or whatever. So if I want to make this a job, I have to like do certain things economically. And at that point, I started researching a few things. Like I started researching editing was the number one thing that I wanted to do. I want to value people's time, which sounds funny from somebody who has 40-minute videos, but I try to ramble as little as possible, like value people's time. So editing has to be in there. And yeah, search optimization, I don't really know until today. So I'm still learning. I'm still in the learning phase. Still my first year. It's like content creation is like gradually upgrading everything around you, not only your equipment, but also everything you know. There's so many small skills that you have to accumulate over time that there's not really one way to do it. It just comes, and every little problem you have to solve makes you stronger and a better content creator.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll help you with the search engine stuff afterwards.
Let's do it.
Outside of this one,
Sure.
if you'd like my help, just reach
Sure.
out and I can help you with that. So what really is your plan? What is success to you in this whole journey? What are you hoping to build if it completely goes the way that you want in like 2 years? What are you still doing? Path of Exile stuff? Did you branch into more games? Like what does that look like for you? Or what are you trying to build?
So for me, it will always have to do with Path of Exile, because the reason I came to make content was not because I wanted to make content. It's because I wanted to make content about Path of Exile, right? So Path of Exile is like the main content that I want, and then I build everything around it. It's not so much that I want like entertain people, it's that I want to entertain people with Path of Exile, right? So it will always be somehow there. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it's at the very center of everything. And as for what I want to achieve, I want to make a living off of it, and everything. I want to have savings. That's basically it. Yeah, I don't have like huge aspirations. I just want to keep doing what I do, and then at some point grow to like, if I'm not, so obviously in my business plan I have like a point where if I don't reach certain goals until then, I will have to just quit it or whatever, because at some point you just have to be realistic, and I have to think about my future. But as for now, I have enough savings to like do this for another 2 years without going broke. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. Yeah.
Do you think you're on the trajectory to hit the goals?
So far, so my goals, which were very realistic, I've overshot by like double or triple. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been one of the fastest growing content creators, and only one of a couple people who actually are able to get 100, 200 concurrent viewers, really just pretty much out of nowhere, right? Like, I think you mentioned before that you talked to some people behind the scenes, but you didn't really probably leverage that much, or did you do that to get to that number, or was it entirely built off of your YouTube mostly?
It was mostly built off of my YouTube. So I had a lot of people who helped me along the way, like Subtractem. Like I had a lot of shout outs, right? But MB Extreme helped me a lot. Mostly, like, it's not about getting shout outs or getting rates. It's about knowledge that they give you, like small things, small tips here or there. That could be anything, right? For example, like Subtractem said something to me that was really stuck with me. That's streaming is very cozy. Don't get into the mindset where you disregard your YouTube. Because streaming is so much easier than doing editing and all that stuff that you don't like, right? So that's, for example, stuff like that just sticks with you is probably the most important. But so my plan was basically to start with YouTube, and once I started streaming, I wanted to have 20 to 30 concurrent viewers, because the slump where you have like 5 to 10 viewers and you have nobody to talk to, and you just feel like you're talking into a void, sort of, I wanted to avoid that, because that's where streamers go to die, in my opinion. That's where they get demoralized, and they just feel like their time isn't of any value. What they do here does nothing. I wanted to get through that hoop real quickly. And even with 20, 30 people, obviously you don't always have somebody who talks in your chat, but you have something to build off of, right? So that's what I wanted to do with the YouTube at first. And then once you start getting into the Twitch groove, you still have to continue doing YouTube, because it plays off of each other all the time, right? Whenever I put out a new video, I have more viewers on Twitch. It's like it's no coincidence, right? So
Yeah, and you mentioned the 20, 30 views and how you were able to immediately start with that. Are those people your initial 20 to 30? Are those people still around now that you're around 100, 200? Did they abandon you because you are doing different stuff, or?
No, a lot of those people are still around. Some of them I modded, right? They got to become my mods because they trusted me even at the start. They thought they were part of something, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. Also, I don't really think about it in terms of like abandoning or whatever, right? If somebody goes into my stream and he clicks off, that's like there's no bad blood there. It's just how it goes, right? Like for example, something that I think a lot of people don't realize is that when some other people aren't online, those people are going to come to me. That doesn't mean that I'm their number one streamer, and that is fine, right? You can't just have not all of your audience is going to be your main audience. And you just have to make do with that. That's just how it goes. Everybody has, like, probably half of the people that watch me at any time have two people that they would rather watch that aren't online. That's just how it goes. Yeah.
And you got to get used to that. Yeah, that's a hard thing that I don't think I looked at it that way, really. You've got to come there for me. And if you're not by mine, you're abandoning me. And that's a little bit how I worded that, too, right? You saw how I think about it. But I got to do that. Hey, I have ego problems, man. I'm telling you right now. But it's definitely like content creation has been one of the most humbling experiences. Nothing will humble you more than spending lots of time on a video you're super proud of and everyone thinks it's crap. But you got to do what's you and your style and figure that out for yourself. That's not something you can learn from other people. Yeah, you can get the tips, but you got to, at the end of the day, have your own style, what you want to do, your vision. It's up to you as the content creator to execute that. So what sort of things behind the scenes, do you have any help? Are you doing this all on your own? What's going on there?
I'm currently doing everything on my own. In terms of like editing, making my stuff. Obviously, I have my mods who do some stuff. But in terms of just YouTube and Twitch, it's pretty much just me. I feel like getting an editor, for example, like some people start out with an editor. I think that's foolish because you are robbing yourself off of you don't really know what's going on. You don't even know if he's doing a good job, your editor, right? Because you've never experienced it. But if you do it yourself for like a year, and that's probably what I'm going to do, you can kind of judge that. You have to know everything that goes into making your videos yourself first, in my opinion.
Yeah, I look at it that way too, where even if I get in there and I do something and then I realize, okay, this is what I think is good for this. I could maybe a little bit guide them. And then if I really hate it, then I'll get out. But if you never even learn, just like you said, you don't know if they're doing a good job or not a good job. You have no way to guide them towards your vision. Even like communicating with an editor or figuring that out is very difficult to do. So
because you don't know.
You will go ahead.
Because otherwise you don't even know what to say to them, so they can do a better job. Yeah.
So, do you think that you will get an editor at some point in time, or like, are you going to expand your team, or just you, or what? Do you have any plans for that?
I'm pretty sure for the first 2 years or so, it's just going to be grinding. Like, I know that I've gotten a lot of followers in the first like few months, but usually what happens is at some point it stagnates. And then you just have to push through. There's a lot of community work to do, right? You just have to be there, right? Like when people, when there's a certain time, people know you're online, you have to be there. It's like the grind set, basically. Like Crip is probably the best example for that. He's online every day. When I go online at a certain time, I know he's going to be online, and that's what you have to be. Yeah.
Gotcha. Getting a scam call. You heard that go off. I get like 10 of those a day. All right.
Yeah,
back on track. So you mentioned your community. So how did you build up your community? And you, of course, said it's very, very important. So maybe you can elaborate on why it's important, how your community is actually like the backbone of your entire brand, right? To a certain extent.
I mean, I think community is everything. It's like when people come to your stream, it shouldn't be only about you. It should be about them having friendships with other people from the stream. Whenever I see, for example, people talking to other people in chat, right? That's what I want. I want people to not only rely on me to answer their question, like how do I get last 20 fire res for my build or whatever. I want them to talk about like daily stuff, and I want them to have friends on the stream. I want them to have a nice environment to be around, and that can't just be about me, right? And you gotta realize that, and you gotta remove your ego from that, and also, I think it's incredibly important to set like ground rules for that. Yeah.
So what sort of ground rules, or how did you get them more to interact? Because that's a place that I keep getting stuck in, where people want to just talk to me mostly and they don't want to interact with each other. What are the ground rules? How did you set them up? How did you remind them? Or what?
I think number one, no. I mean, number one, most importantly, is that you know them by name. Obviously, you know who they are. You see that they're in chat, right? You say hello to them. It's like just basic human like decency, right? Which I feel like a lot of people just don't do, because they feel like they're like this mighty broadcaster that like has a hammer, and I'm gonna ban you because you said something I don't like. That's not how I feel about it. I feel about it as like everybody who comes in, I like from the get go, and then if they say something bad, maybe I don't like them anymore. But it's like I think about it more as like friendships, and that's not to say that it's like some cold-blooded calculation. It's literally just like you're making friends, and that's how you build a community. And if you're the type of person who doesn't like to talk to other people, who doesn't like to make friends, then you're probably going to have a rough time streaming, for example. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, and this goes back to kind of what your friend said. No one's ever told me that I talk too much. That's never happened. Definitely not. So I definitely didn't relate with that at all. Didn't sound like me. But I think a little bit, now being more serious, as broadcasters, well, we're out there and we turn it on, and that we like to hear our own, we like to hear ourselves talk, right? Or we wouldn't do the broadcast to begin with.
That's why you have to swallow your ego a bit. I guess one of the things that I would like to say is like, you should see yourself as a catalyst for conversation rather than somebody who speaks in front of an audience. Basically,
that's very interesting. Okay, I'll have to think on that some more. See, this isn't. See, you guys think that you're getting the tips. I'm getting the tips right now. See, there's like a hidden meta level here. I'm taking notes right now. Okay, so when I first got into content creation, before I actually hit record, and I didn't know anything about editing, I didn't know anything about making a video, I had the impression that it was like super easy, and why don't people do this, and maybe they're lazy and stuff like that. Once I started hitting record and actually having to edit my own videos, everything changed from my viewpoint, and I have a lot more respect for content creators now and understand that struggle. How did you have a similar experience? Like, what are things that you took for granted before that you're now like, wow, that's actually kind of a little bit hard to do?
It's definitely a humbling experience. I mean, there's a lot of things that I didn't know about content creation that's actually pretty hard. Like, there's so many small skills that you have to accumulate over time. Like, editing is just one of many, right? Like, you have to know about like sound. You have to know about what's going on your screen. So you're kind of like an artist as well, right? There's so much all-rounder knowledge that I didn't think about before. But if you want to be a good content creator, you have to think about all of these things like emotes and stuff. I didn't have much experience with those at all. I'm not even that tech savvy, right? It's like I'm just a normal person, so it's like I had to really dig deep and get myself accustomed to those. And I'm still not really that good at it. There's still so many things I want to do, but at the end of the day, you have to value your time, and that's also, I think, a big part of it. Yeah.
So, for people who haven't started making content, you probably hear people, oh, get good thumbnails, learn SEO, editing, sound, OBS, the software you get, and you got to do this thing and you got to do that thing. What are the most important things, do you think, to learn? Because it's overwhelming. It's so hard to navigate. If you could only pick like 3 things to learn, what should you focus on at the start?
3 things to learn. Number one, get your sound in order. So I think that a lot of people are way more interested in having good sound from people. And I just bought a new microphone, funnily enough, which I haven't installed yet. But yeah, so whatever you can afford, you should probably put into sound. if anything, right? Video and stuff, it really depends on what you want to do, right? For example, the game that I play, a lot of people just have me as sort of like a radio station that they have on their second screen. So most people won't have me in full screen, so the camera doesn't really matter. Also, my camera is like very small, so people won't even see if I change from like 720 to 1080 or something. So that then the camera doesn't really matter. For example, my camera is trash, right? But I bought like a microphone that's gonna be like professional, for example, and that's for a reason. So sound, number one. Second, work on yourself. Like if you're not used to public speaking, you need to do something about that. You need to have a presence. You need to come across as calm. You need to be, I mean, what you want to come across obviously depends once again, but you just have to know how to speak to people and being engaging. So that's the second thing. Work on yourself mostly. That's like number one, probably. Number two, sound. Number three, so you have to have a problem-solving mindset, I think, if you want to be a content creator. So if you feel like you're not the kind of person who loves to solve certain problems, whenever there's a problem, you're like, I'm going to solve this tomorrow. If you're that kind of person, you're probably going to have a hard time. So try to develop that problem. So like whenever you see a problem on your stream or with your content, do it immediately, right? Stuff like that, I would say. So there is going to be so many things that are going to disrupt what you want to do, that you will have to get into a mindset where you just solve those things and you just know how to Google stuff. You know where to get your information. Those are probably the three most important things. Yeah.
So you mentioned about having the camera presence and developing those skills and working on yourself. One of the things that I had super early on is I never recorded myself, so I sounded different to myself. I think it's a natural thing if you don't do singing or something like that.
Yep.
But that's very odd. And then over time, as I listen back to myself, now it sounds the same. Did you have a similar experience? And like, what other areas of your life did you have public speaking background, or is this something that you picked up to learn for it? Like, how did you get there, and what advice can you give to people to master that part?
I don't know. I didn't really have much background, but I think since English is my second language, the way you learn English as a second language is not like there's no slang usually. There's just going to be very like you sound formal, right? That's just because you learn out of a book, and that's what the book tells you. So I guess that's one of the things that I have going, right? But I didn't really have much experience. It comes with confidence mostly, right? And that's just something that you either have or you don't have. And yeah, I don't even know if you can give much of input on that for people. I don't even know, honestly. I wouldn't know how to tell people.
Did you have a lot of confidence coming into the whole thing? You would say you had like a really high level of confidence?
No, it's kind of like a fake it till you make it sort of thing. And I haven't really made it yet, but your confidence level will go up when people watch your video and you see that people like your content and you get comments on it, then your confidence will grow. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's like, I don't think there's any formula to that. I don't think there's anything I can say about that will make you better. That's just something you have to figure out for yourself, I think.
Okay. Now, you mentioned your confidence and getting confidence from positive comments. What about negative comments? What about people who just want to poop in your oatmeal, so to speak? How do you deal with them? And how do you not get devastated?
I mean, I think most people don't really mean all that bad. I don't really believe in this whole that there's some people on the internet that are just mean and they thrive off of being mean to other people. I don't know about that. I think it just comes out of misunderstanding, and I don't really attribute malevolence to that. It's more that I just don't want to have these people in my community, and there's no hard feelings about that. I will just remove them from whatever platform I can, and then I move on with my day. Yeah, that's how you have to look at it. But if you get mad at them for saying something, you're giving them too much power, number one, and maybe they don't even mean bad, right? Like a lot of things over the internet come across as bad if you just leave out a smiley, for example, right? Like we all know that, right? You send a message text. And Yeah, or maybe the comma is at a bad spot, right? And all of a sudden it means something completely different. I had misunderstandings like that before because at the start I was really pissed at people who would like criticize me. But overall, yeah, you just have to go with the flow, and you can't take it personal at any point, which is super. That's probably the hardest part about it. I also get that a lot of the time. I take things personal that I shouldn't. Um, that's something you have to cope with. It that comes with the territory, and it will never go away. It will only get stronger the bigger you are, but at the same time, you're also going to be more equipped the more time it goes on. So it kind of evens out.
So you mentioned that you were taking some things personally and you're trying to get better at that. What are some other things that you're trying to improve? Because YouTube, Twitch, all this stuff, really, it's a journey about self, like you mentioned before, where you're trying to always improve on things. How are you going about improving yourself? What sort of things are you working on?
So I'm personally working on understanding monetization better. So I did econ in university, but that didn't really equip me all that much for what's happening here. And I'm a believer of not monetizing too aggressively. At the same time, you still have to make a living. But I'm a believer in brand first and money second, which is that you first have to build something and then you can extract money off of it. And also, you don't want to be in a situation where you have to extract money from your viewers necessarily, but more maybe from companies, right? That actually can use you as a platform. So you don't want to be overly aggressive to your viewers, I think, but you want to be out there so companies can compensate you for your brand once you build it. So, for example, I already have like opportunities to do brand stuff, if they're not aligning with what I like in the first 2 to 3 years, I'm not even going to think about that. So it's all about brand in those first few years, realistically, right?
So you mentioned kind of about building the brand and all that sort of thing, and there's a lot of advice out there that people are like, yeah, just quit and you'll be making money and you could do this. And the way I look at it is it's going to be a very long journey before you actually get the return, just like any business. Has that been the
It's a
case
startup.
for you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you have to treat it like a startup. Nobody would go into a startup and think that they're going to get paid, I don't know, like 5 figures in the first year. Like nobody would do that. Everybody knows that you have a certain period where you're just going to invest more than you make, and at some point it's going to pay off. Um, but the hard part and probably the hardest part is you have to still be honest with yourself. Because there's probably a lot of people out there that are streaming for like 3 to 4 years. It hasn't been working out, right? They're streaming still to 5 people. At some point, you just have to say, I'm doing something wrong here. So that could be several things. It could be you're just not made for the job, right? Maybe you don't enjoy it. You're just trying to force it, or you're not entertaining enough, which can be fixed with, I think, a lot of things. I think that people overestimate how entertaining you have to be. You just have to change a few things, maybe, about how you approach stuff. Maybe you have to I don't know, make a YouTube, make some educational stuff, put in more work than just sitting there 12 hours a day, actually learn skills like hard skills. All those kind of things, you have to be honest with yourself, while at the same time also recognizing that time is a factor and you're going to stagnate at some point. So it's a very hard line to walk, I think. Honestly, you just have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be good at self-reflecting, and you have to take criticism from yourself as well. You have to realize when you just fucked up and this is not working out.
So would you recommend that, like, if you have bills to pay and you don't have savings, that you would work part-time and then work on your channel part-time and not just fully quit and throw it in? Like, you're not going to be able to make your rent right when you start, right? For a while. Or
yeah, you're not going to pay your rent. So I think going into this without savings is going to make you desperate and you're going to make some wrong decisions along the way, which I think is going to hurt your brand in a long time. So if I was to start this again, if I would like plan it out, like you're right now, I want to be a content creator, I would probably like work for 2 years straight and make as much money as possible, save up as much as I can. And if it's worth it for you, then you will take sacrifices to do that. So you will have a worse lifestyle for those 2 years. But after that, you have some savings, so you kind of have more freedom to be creative. And like take certain steps towards protecting your brand. So I think that would be my approach. In my case, for example, like I said, I have savings. Without savings, I don't think this is going to be a lot harder. So if you have to work a job as well, your content is going to be worse on average. But then again, a lot of people do it. A lot of people are successful. So like this shouldn't let you stop. That's just my approach, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's just you don't want to put the full pressure of having to like pay your bills or you're homeless or something to do the content creation.
Exactly.
It's gonna there's gonna be a lag in you making the money because you got to get
you're
monetized on most of them. Like YouTube, there's requirements and you own 0 until you hit those. And a lot of people, it takes like a year to hit that. If you quit your job thinking you're getting the paycheck, they don't even pay you right away, right? There's the delay.
Yeah. Also, you have to get the snowball rolling because in whatever community you're doing your content in, people don't know who you are. And gradually people get to know you. Or like, for example, it's very different for a viewer to come into my stream for the first time, or if he has been there for like 4 months and he's like there almost all the time, right? It's a very different dynamic. And they're way more like appreciative of your content. The other person doesn't even know who you are. They just randomly clicked in there. It takes time to build these connections and these bonds, right, to people. Or people, maybe just like on YouTube, right? People who watch you, they don't have as much of a personal connection as on Twitch, but they still get to know you because they know on Thursday you're going to release a new video and they're already watching. Oh my God, new video's out. Awesome. Right? Those kind of things. Those bonds are real and they take time to develop. Yeah. So the money also comes in that delay as well. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier kind of about skills and working on yourself. What skills did you have previously before you even started that you think you're leveraging right now that were huge advantages that you then didn't have to work on as much that really set you up for success?
I think for me, since I'm just doing Path of Exile content and I don't really plan to deviate from that anytime soon, I think it's just my Path of Exile knowledge that I played for 6 years or like 7 years at this point, and that helped me make content by just applying that knowledge. And then everything around that knowledge I had to learn. Like I had no idea how to edit a video. I had no idea how to do sound. So stuff like that, I had no idea how to do YouTube, how to make a Twitch channel, how to like optimize stuff like thumbnails, whatnot, like titles, how to make a description that people will actually read, stuff like that. I had no idea. So I built everything around just game knowledge. And I think it really depends on what you want to do. But if you want to go into streaming without having a game you're passionate for, and you just stream without having any prior knowledge, that's going to be rough. So I would probably advise people to start somewhere, right? Even if you want to do variety later, that's totally fine. But if you don't have any knowledge about a game, it's going to be super hard. Yeah.
Okay, back to the streaming a little bit. How do you determine what you're going to do on stream for the day? Because you're doing like 5 to 7 hours a lot of days of the week. How do you always have something fresh? Or do you not worry about that? You just do what you want? Like, what happens?
I want to know, when I wake up in the morning, I want to know what I want to do for stream. But then, so I want to know the starting point of the stream. But it's like Path of Exile, there's not really much going on a lot of the time. It's just conversations with people. It's just like people hanging out on my stream. It's not like if I wanted to do a super entertaining stream, if it was like an entertainer, you would do like 1-2 hour streams, crazy content like some kind of show, right? That's completely different to streaming, where people just want to hang out while they play themselves, right? They're playing, you're playing, you're just chatting with them. Sometimes they drop like an emote. That's basically it. So you don't have to, in that case, you don't have to think about it all that much, but I want to know where I want to start. The worst feeling in the morning is when you wake up and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do for stream today? That is the worst feeling ever. But if you know, for example, today I want to level an explosive arrow ballista build, that is enough for me. That's like, okay, I'm going to build up of that. And I have enough like knowledge where I'm going to get that somewhere that's entertaining. But where that leads, I have no idea in the morning. I just want to have the starting point. And I think everybody should have a starting point for their stream. But depending on what they do, I don't think they need to plan out their stream. I don't think so. Unless you're doing a show. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you get fresh ideas? Do you poll your audience to see what build you're going to do next, or that's all just what you want to do, or?
That's just me being passionate about the game, I think. That's just
Okay.
me. Like, I always read articles, like, always read Reddit. I get new ideas from that. It's like, for example, I don't know, somebody who knows about cars and is more, like, passionate about cars will definitely be a better car salesman than somebody who goes home and has nothing to do with cars, right? Like, somebody who goes home and knows everything about cars, cars are their life, they're gonna make a better salesman, right? And I think that's the same situation here. If you're passionate, that's why I said, if you're passionate for a game, all of those things will be like pretty easy because you're just doing what you would do anyways, but with an audience, right? I think that's where the magic lies. Yeah.
Gotcha. So would you say passion is one of the most important things that that you're passionate about?
Yeah. Like if streaming is the most dreadful part of content creation for you, you should probably not be a streamer. I think that streaming is actually the easiest part of all of this. Like between editing and actually doing all the behind the scenes stuff, streaming is where I go to chill with people from my community. If you don't enjoy that, most likely streaming is not going to be for you. Yeah. And that's totally fine because streaming is just one of many avenues, right? I'm just saying specifically for like Twitch streaming, for example.
Yeah, and for me, that's not what streaming was like, and that's why I kind of stopped doing it. It was more like overwhelming, where I felt like I had to answer all these questions and stuff, and then I couldn't really. It was kind of a passion killer. I couldn't enjoy the game then because I'm constantly having to look and interact with chat, and it was just overwhelming because I work full time, and then me playing Path of Exile, these league starts and stuff like that is my chill time, my me time to recharge my batteries. I'm just wound so tight that I found when I turned on the stream, like, it didn't help. In fact, it made things worse.
Yeah, I mean, also that's also one of the part of why I said that having a job on the side makes things a lot harder. You're gonna be on edge, right? You had a bad day at work, you come home, and now what are you gonna do? You're gonna vent to your viewers, right? That's not gonna be very good. You want to be chill, you want to be happy about what you're doing, and that's very hard while doing another job. So if I was to do it again, if I was to plan it out, right? For me, it just kind of happened naturally. But if I was to plan it out from the get go again, I would like save up for 1 or 2 years, then maybe make it so I have at least 8 to 12 months where I don't have to think about rent. Maybe you have to, if you have like no savings before that, maybe you have to work longer to get there, right? I don't know. But you have to sacrifice stuff to then get into a situation where you can be creative, where you can just only think about content creation. And if you have a job on the side, that's going to be really rough. Like I said, I still think people can do that. I don't think I would have the wherewithal to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's been very, very tough for me to do that. Like I said, I eventually just made the decision of I'm just going to do the YouTube part of it, and I'm not going to do the stream part of it. And because YouTube's, you don't have to show up every single day. That's one of the pressures of streaming, right? You've got to show up 4 or 5 days. Do you think streaming can work if you only show up like once a week, or no?
If you're a show, then yes. So what I mean with show is somebody who does like super planned out streams. Like maybe he's like a comedic, like he's a very good comedian, for example, and he does like his shows, for example. And people he always advertises it, and people know exactly when he goes online. Afterwards, people watch his VODs, or he uploads the whole show to YouTube. I think that can work for sure, but it's not going to be like a big branch or something. So you have to focus on what you're good at. And if interacting with, like, you can do those kind of shows without ever answering a single question, right? Because it's about you. A show is about you. But if you're doing streaming, and for example, gaming streaming, where you want to have a community that will support you and help you out, then you can't make it about yourself. You cannot do the show style. It's like, look at me. That in my opinion, that just cannot work, right?
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So the big question that I'm really wondering. You have an unlimited budget. You have unlimited experience. Let's say that we hooked you up to the Matrix machine, and all your weaknesses, I just gave you infinite knowledge, okay? And we give you infinite time. What does that video look like?
Oh boy. That would be a how to start PoE video that's like perfectly optimized to give the most people the best experience from the get-go, because that's what the game does, where the game is at its worst, right? That's the kind of video I would make. Like, getting people who aren't interested in RPGs, people that don't even know what a flask looks like or is, right? People who don't understand what like a mage is or what a bow character is. Something where I can bring all those people into the genre without them being confused from the get-go. That would be like a series, and I would make that for sure. It's just extremely hard to do so, I feel like. And a lot of people have failed over the years.
Gotcha. Okay, switching gears a little bit. So you mentioned to me that right now you've been denied for partnership twice by Twitch. And a lot of people see Twitch as this, like, once you get partnered, you've made it. And it's kind of just a weird barrier, even like 10,000 subscribers, which you've hit, or 100,000 subscribers. When you get the Twitch partner, does anything change at all?
I don't think so. So it's still valuable. It is valuable in the way that you get certain features, right? Which I'm not even sure about what all of those are yet. But one of the biggest things is having the check mark. Definitely, if you're in a lot of chats, that gets eyes on you. So, for example, whenever I see a partnered streamer with a check mark in a different stream, I usually click on his channel just to see what he's up, right? Is he like a PoE streamer? Is he like a variety streamer? Who is that? Why is he in this chat in particular? And I think for someone like me who is in like a lot of communities, I watch a lot of streams myself, that would be extremely valuable because that shines a light on you. Sure. So I think it's just that, yeah. And it's just an ego thing, right? You're like, I made it or whatever. In the end, I don't think it should discourage you if you don't get affiliate or you don't get partnered anytime soon. You should keep going while being aware that maybe you're just not made for it. Be honest to yourself, and if it doesn't work out, maybe try something else. I don't think it's that big of a deal. No.
But are you going to like change everything? It's not like you're going to stop improving yourself or stop trying to get better at your content or anything like that. There's still learning going on after that, right?
No, I mean, there's people who got unpartnered on Twitch that still make a living off of it. Like, partner has nothing to do with like your income, or mostly doesn't have anything to do with your income. It's just like you can even dual stream, like YouTube, Twitch, which you cannot do if you're partnered. So you just have to change your plan. And at some point, I'm going to get partnered, probably like in a few months, right? So it is what it is. Like, this actually happens to a lot of people at the start, even though they have the necessary viewers or whatever and the necessary stats. Twitch is not sure if they want to partner them, but at some point, after applying for the 4th or 5th time, they get partnered. So I would say don't be discouraged. Yeah.
Yeah, I find this whole thing very strange because there's the requirements out there. Twitch is sitting there going, no. We're not hiring people though. Yet there's an application process and they deny partners and then make that whole decision. That line to me is like, I don't know if this would hold up in court. If someone really pushed it.
Yeah, I only think about the variables that I can change, and everything else I just keep doing what I do because I cannot change that fact, right? And I'm gonna probably be partnered in a few months, and it's gonna be fine. I don't care. I give 0 fucks. So no.
Gotcha. And I think we'll end on that note. So I think you gave us a lot of good information. Follow your passion. Make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure that you have some way to sit down and think about your content and think about your passion before you do it. I think those were 2 of the big takeaways. And then you got to be working on yourself, developing skills. I think those are the biggest things that I heard. And if you want to
have money so you can actually be creative. Yep. Stuff like that.
And then foster a community. You got to have a community if
100%.
you want to stream. I think those are the biggest takeaways. Thank you so much for joining us for this. And
no problem.
His links to all of his stuff will be below. Check him out. He's a good guy.